Keep on telling that Ducati decided to cut loose Bagnaia for some reasons, and they are not listening him on his complaints. One side is dominating, and the other one is losing. Losing and destroyed his every of confidence in 2025. And now Ducati started giving their stories to public and humiliate Pecco. This whole thing didn't feel like a press release. It felt like a warning shot disguised as corporate reflection. It felt like a CEO writing a eulogy for a rider who isn't dead yet. It felt like a factory that forgot who carried them through the dark. Ducati didn't win 2025. Marc Marquez did. They won, not because the GP25 was a masterpiece, but because one man bent physics until it kneeled. One man ignored aero wipeouts, ignored corner entry instability, ignored the twitching tail, ignored the chaos the rest of the paddock drowned in. Marc didn't ride the GP25. He tamed it. He took its violence and weaponized it. And Pecco? He walked straight into the same fire and got burned alive. The part that hurts to watch is this. Pecco didn't suddenly forget how to ride. He didn't lose discipline, didn't lose race IQ, didn't lose the calmness that made him a two-time champion. He lost a bike that spoke his language. The GP25 was born in panic, built for aggression, designed around instability. Marquez's DNA poured into carbon. Everything Pecco wasn't, everything Pecco never needed to be. And while he wrestled with a machine that never loved him, the garage next door witnessed a resurrection the sport wasn't ready for. 25 wins, 14 sprints, title sealed with 5 rounds left, and a psychological eclipse over Borgo Panigale so large that every other Ducati worker forgot anyone else ever brought them glory. That's when Ducati's tone changed. You could hear the shift in the corridors, in the whispers, in the par posts. The praise for Marc grew. The sentences about Pecco started including words like trust, rebuild, non-optimal situations, failed to collect, failed. A word you don't throw casually at a double world champion. But they threw it anyway. This is not a team supporting their guy. This is a team preparing the world for his exit. Bagnaia didn't just talk about bad luck. He talked about antibodies, absorbing pain, learning lessons, corporate poetry hiding the truth. He's telling the paddock, we stood by him, but maybe it's time to move on. And that is the sin in all of this. Ducati has forgotten their own timeline. They are repeating the Dovizioso humiliation chapter. They are repeating the Lorenzo cold shoulder chapter. And now they're writing the Bagnaia farewell chapter without even having the courage to admit it. Question is, when a factory starts sculpting their dominance around one man, how long before the entire structure collapses like Honda did? Comment your first reaction. To understand the scale of this mess, you have to rewind to 2025 preseason testing. Back then, Ducati thought they were feeding 2 lions, but the GP25 had other plans. It was restless, nervous, sharp on entry, punishing on exit, a bike that only responded to brutality. Aldeguer said it fought him. But Marc said perfect. That's when everything inside Ducati silently switched allegiance. Because here is the truth. Insider engineers whispered. When Marc said Pramac is not an option, Ducati rebuilt their entire future around him. They didn't care how it looked. They didn't care who was offended. They didn't care if Jorge Martin walked out. They didn't care if Pecco's confidence was on fire. Marc was the sun now. Everyone else revolved around him. And when one rider becomes the gravity of a factory, the second rider becomes optional. Pecco Bagnaia, the guy who delivered 2 titles, the guy who rebuilt the brand after Dovi left, the guy who stayed loyal even when Yamaha threw money at him, was suddenly treated like a removable part. Just look at the public statements. Claudio Domenicali, 3rd would be totally acceptable. Totally acceptable? For a 2-time champion, while the factory is giving the other guy a bike shaped like his riding style? He failed to collect points even in non-optimal situations. Failed, not struggled, not fought, not endured. Failed. This is the same man who spent 2022 and 2023 turning Ducati into a dynasty. The same man who defeated Quartararo's Yamaha and broke the rider centrism barrier. The same man who delivered Ducati's first back-to-back titles since Stoner Fantasies in 2007. And this is how Ducati repays him. The irony? Pecco's biggest enemy in 2025 wasn't Mark, it was his own machine. The GP25 stripped him of everything he mastered: smooth braking, predictable rotation, controlled load transfers, calm mid-corner behavior. It spat all of that out and demanded chaos. The kind of chaos only Mark could dance with. Ducati didn't fix it. They adapted it for Mark. And for Pecco, they handed him GP24 parts at Motegi like a bandage on a broken bone. He won that race because the bike finally felt like something he recognized. And instead of building on that, they gave him 5 straight DNFs. 5 endings that weren't rider errors. 5 endings that broke something deep inside him. 5 endings Ducati now uses as ammunition to say, he failed. So let's be honest, this isn't performance critique, this is political positioning. Because Ducati knows what is coming. 2026 is Pecco's contract year. 2027 is the 850cc reset. The grid is full of sharks: Aldeguer, Acosta, Quartararo. Aprilia is waiting with open arms. VR46 is preparing a throne, and Ducati wants a justification when they push him out. That justification is being written line by line, post by post, PR by par. Is Gigi wrong? No. Technically he's right. Pecco didn't score points, but context matters. A champion doesn't collapse in isolation. Something pushed him, and that thing wasn't pressure. It wasn't laziness. It wasn't fear. It was silence. Ducati acted like they heard him. They nodded at meetings, they promised adjustments, they talked trust, they talked unity. But every update went to the other side of the garage. Every upgrade went to the man lifting their empire. Every headline carried Mark's face, and every DNF carried Pecco's blame. Was it focus or arrogance that lit this fuse inside Ducati's own temple? Drop your verdict. Pecco Bagnaia didn't lose his season. Ducati lost him. The collapse wasn't about lap time. It wasn't about qualifying. It wasn't about bad luck, though he had plenty. It wasn't about Mark, though Mark outshining anyone is inevitable. It was about the erosion of trust. Gigi Dall'Igna said it outright: we must rebuild trust. Factories don't say that unless the bridge is ash. When a double world champion is told to rebuild trust, it means the factory no longer believes their future is tied to him. And that's why Ducati's public tone matters, because it's not just par, it's positioning for the 2027 rider market. If Pecco doesn't perform in 2026, he's gone. No debates, no tears, no goodbye ceremony. He will be replaced like Lorenzo was, like Dovi was, like Danilo was. Aldeguer is waiting. Acosta will be available. Quartararo might jump. Aprilia is licking their lips. VR46 will open their doors. Pecco's entire Ducati identity, the loyalty, the victories, the dynasty, is now hanging by a single thread. And here is the biggest hypocrisy of all. Ducati keeps acting like Mark saved them. He didn't. Pecco built the platform Mark stood on. Without Pecco's 2022 comeback, Ducati never gets the momentum to crush Yamaha. Without Pecco's 2023 consistency, the factory doesn't become a title machine. Without Pecco, Ducati doesn't turn into the playground Mark wanted to join. Mark didn't build Ducati. He inherited it, and then he amplified it. This isn't a crime. Mark deserves the praise. He earned the throne. But it's a problem when Ducati forgets that the empire was built by 2 champions, not 1. Honda made the same mistake. They shaped everything around Mark. When he left, they collapsed. 6 years without a podium. 6 years of wandering the desert. 6 years of engineers staring at laptops with dead eyes. And Ducati is following the exact same pattern. When you sculpt your factory around one superstar, you better pray he stays forever, because when he leaves, you have nothing but rubble. What happens if Mark leaves after 2026? What happens if the 850cc era doesn't favor him? What happens if he goes to Aprilia or KTM, or even something wild beyond imagination? What happens if Pecco is already gone? This is how dynasties fall, not in violent explosions, but in quiet, arrogant decisions. Was this gravity acting on Ducati, or the tax they pay for leaning entirely on one man again? Comment what you see. The saddest part? Pecco doesn't deserve this storyline. He rebuilt Ducati when the world doubted them. Now they're rewriting him as an inconvenience. And yet, there is one hope left: the GP26. Pecco said it finally felt like a bike again. like something that listened, like something not designed for someone else's hands. If that machine gives him even 80% of his old feeling, he will claw his way back. He will fight. He will silence every par post that hinted he was finished. Because champions don't die in seasons. They die in indifference. And Pecco Bagnaia is not indifferent. He is cornered. And cornered champions become dangerous. So here's the real cliffhanger. If Marc walks to another manufacturer in 2027 and dominates again, Ducati will sink into the same black hole Honda entered. And if Pecco rises again in 2026, Ducati will be forced to face their greatest fear, that they nearly threw away the rider who could save them after Marc leaves. From now, where does this put them? The time will tell us. Comment below. Subscribe for more Savage breakdowns.